Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Once again, I can't thank you enough for tuning in week after week. I love you guys. It's been fantastic. I think I mentioned this on our last podcast. We're ranked in the top 150 in mental health in the world. I mean, I cannot believe that. That's where we're at. It's so cool. But it's because of you guys. So thanks for tuning in. And then I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Wasatch Recovery, Siegfried and Jensen, Eye Hill Institute, Veracity Networks, and Living Recovery Interventions. Thank you so much for supporting this and supporting all our guests. And I'd like to thank all my guests too. You guys are amazing. And today's going to be no different. We are joined today by Sabby Jardine. Sabby, thanks for joining us.
Of course. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about how cool her name is. I love it. It's so fantastic. Sabby is the associate producer at Good Things Utah. And that's kind of who referred you to me. All the great girls and the women you work with there are the ones that kind of referred me. You got to have her on, and so I reached out to you, and you were so kind to reply back. So thank you for doing that.
Of course, we have a blast over there. Good Things.
Oh my gosh, do they ever? Yeah, I love that place. I love being on the show, and you guys obviously have just so much fun.
Well, thank you, and you're a phenomenal guest. Every time you come on, we are just inspired. So
I appreciate that. So you're married to the love of your life, Kasdan, right?
Yes.
Did I say that correctly?
I know we both have kind of odd names.
Yeah. No, I love it. And he played basketball at UVU and also in Hawaii and some other places as well. But man, I've watched video on that dude. Man, he can play some ball.
He's a stud. I am pretty lucky.
Yeah. And you were a UVU cheerleader for 4 years, and that's where you guys met.
That is where we met.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really cool. And then you also went to Hawaii, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But where I'd like to start is tell us about where you grew up. I know it was a small town, but talk about that and then talk about your family.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I know. So I'm from a really small town. I say I put it on the map because it's called Aurora, Utah, population 1,000. And there's actually more cows there than people.
And that's true, right?
It's true. Yeah. And so I'm a small town girl at heart, you know, living in the big city now of Salt Lake. But I grew up down there. I'm the oldest in a blended family.
Okay.
So I have 2 half siblings at my dad's house and 2 half siblings from my mom.
Oh, okay.
And so I grew up really involved. I did a lot of things. Especially in a small town, you kind of have the ability to do it all.
Do everything.
So I kind of had my hand in everything. I was a singer. I was a dancer. I did volleyball for a little bit. I played the piano. And so I was always really involved. Growing up in a small town, there were definite benefits. And
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, you know everybody. And so you feel safe, you feel taken care of. You go to school with people that you go to church with. And, your teacher, my librarian, also was in my church ward. And so it was kind of an interesting dynamic. Everyone knew everything about you, which was sometimes a really good thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it wasn't so good.
Well, I wish they weren't in my business, right?
Right. Well, and it's so funny. There's not a lot to do there. We like the outdoors, but there's just not a ton of entertainment. And so that was kind of a downfall. We had to make our own fun.
Yeah. And
so that's kind of why I just jumped into being involved in all the things. And I did kind of narrow it down as I got older. I ended up choosing to be a cheerleader in high school. I actually chose that because there wasn't a drill team at my high school. It was so small, and I was more of a dancer, and that's kind of where I started cheerleading. But I had incredible coaches who just believed in me and helped build me into the person that I am today.
That. Yeah.
But
well, let's go back just a little bit. So, being in a small town, I love what you said. Like, you had to really basically just get involved in everything, right? It almost kind of forced you into doing that so you could stay busy and that kind of thing. How did that play an effect on your confidence? Because I know you were like on, I think it was called High Five, talking about confidence, and you come across as this very confident woman. And were you always like that growing up? And how did being involved help in being more confident?
You know, my parents were really great at putting me in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of had the philosophy to try everything and then narrow down what you like. And so that gave me the confidence moving forward, especially into college and stuff, where I was going to school with people who, you know, kind of were only allowed to choose one thing. They went to a bigger school and kind of had to hone in on one sport. And for me, I feel like I became very well-rounded because I was able to try a lot of things. And now, I mean, I did musicals and I did a little bit of volleyball. Like I did all of these things. And so it kind of helps me. It's helped me just grow into myself and discover all these different things that I also really like to do, in addition to, you know, the main thing that I pursued, which was cheerleading.
Oh, I love that. You know, I mentioned off the air that I was a basketball player, and that was a big thing for me. And I just remember, like, even to this day, like one of the things it taught me is to be confident. Like I did things that made me realize, I can't believe I can do this, you know, kind of thing. And it helped me in other areas of my life. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes.
In your life? Yeah.
Yeah. Confidence is huge. And I feel like you're just learning and growing and being shaped into the person that you're going to be when you're young. Mm-hmm. One thing that was huge for me as a teenager is I actually got involved in the Miss America organization at a young age. And so I competed in the teen program, which is called Miss Utah's Outstanding Teen. I competed 2 times, but at a young age, I watched the competition and I was just blown away at the amazing women, young girls, and how they were involved and how smart and talented and well-spoken they were. And that was something that I wanted to be involved in. And so, I mean, at 15 years old, I was developing my talents and, you know, focusing on my academics and developing a service platform. And I just look back and I'm like, that was such a good opportunity for me at such a young age to get involved, to focus on good things, to be busy in a good cause. And I was fortunate enough to have been selected as the representative when I was 16. So my second time competing.
That's impressive.
And that was huge for me because, you know, I got to a point where it wasn't about winning. It was really about becoming my best self. Okay. And it was really cool because it was actually backstage before crowning. And I had a friend who was like, it's you. It's going to be you. And it hadn't even crossed my mind because my goal going into the competition was to be my best. And at that point I had been my best. And I think that's something that was really important for me to learn is sometimes it's not about winning because you can't always control the outcome. Right. Yeah. But for me, I had already won and I had already accomplished what I came to do. And that whole experience was amazing for me. And I think even at the time, I didn't really realize all that it did for me. But, you know, as I was stretched and challenged throughout that year to get out of my comfort zone and find my voice and, you know, speak about things that I was passionate about at at the age of 16 can be hard. It has continued to have a positive influence on my life. And something that was really important to me then and still is very important to me now is kindness. And that's actually what I centered my service platform around. And so I traveled the state of Utah sharing my message. And it just continues to be true today that life is hard. We all struggle. We all have a different story. Right. Like no matter who you are, you have a different background and things that you've been through. And it is so important to be kind. And so I throughout my life, and we will continue to touch on that, but that was so important to me from a young age, and it has continued to shape me into who I am now.
No, I love that. And what does the world need more now than ever is kindness. I mean, it's always needed it, but it feels like more now, the way things are going. I mean, how much more we need that kindness. Do you mind sharing? You said that was your platform going around. Can you share some of the things of why? I mean, you just did, but is there more to the what you would say about kindness? I mean, I'm sure you've taught kids how important that is and all that. Do you mind sharing some more about that?
You know, it's so important at every age. I had different sort of presentations that I would do for different age groups. I would go to elementary schools and talk about a book a children's book that was called, I believe it was something about being a bucket filler. Oh, okay. And so you would focus on, you know, filling other people's buckets with kindness rather than withdrawing out of their buckets with, you know, unkind things. And we would do different challenges within the elementary schools. I also focused on mean girl bullying at the middle school age. Oh, that's big. Yeah. Which was huge. And being from a small town, it can be really easy to just get involved in nasty behavior. And, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of young girls don't have that example in their parents of people who are being kind to one another. And so that was something that was really important to me. And then even among my own peers in my high school, which was a challenge because, you know, I had to really speak up in situations. But I was the president of the kindness club at my high school.
Oh, really?
And it just has continued to be something even throughout college that is so important to me. And that it's not just a good thing to be involved in, to be kind. It really is something that I've tried to adopt as a way of life.
Yeah.
And it just continues to be so important even now into my adult life.
Well, from what I know of you, you're a very kind person. I know people speak very highly of you.
Thank you.
And I don't think that happens by accident. It's probably because you're very kind, you know. I didn't even realize they had a kindness club. Is that something you started, or is it already put in place and you just got involved with it?
I did start it.
Wow,
it's a lot more popular now in high schools, but it was so fun to get, you know, my peers involved in service projects. And one thing that I loved, I was actually not the person who started at college when I did eventually go to college, but there were tons of kindness initiatives throughout the university and mental health awareness initiatives and things. And they had posted little Post-it notes of just kind things everywhere throughout the whole campus. Right. And it was amazing to see.
That's beautiful. That's so cool that you were doing that. So, you know, you were involved in pageants, which takes a lot of vulnerability and a lot of confidence and putting yourself out there. Being a cheerleader is not an easy thing to do. We were talking about that before we got started. Talk about like some of these things that you had to do, like, because it takes a lot of discipline to do what you were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, and not only that, but it's discipline, it's hard work. It's, again, you know, having the confidence that you can even do it. Talk about some of these lessons you've learned about, you know, going through those things.
Of course. Well, for listeners at home that don't really know a whole lot about cheerleading, I mean, most of us, we see them on the sidelines.
Yeah,
they're just the sideline girls who are cute and laughing, and maybe they're doing what they're supposed to, and maybe they're not.
Yeah.
But there are two different sides to cheerleading. That's one side that we, you know, support our teams at games. And then there's also a competitive side of cheerleading where we have our own tournaments and our own competitions as well, just like, you know, the basketball team does or the volleyball team. And so a lot of training happens that people don't see. You know, we are practicing all the time, and it's I think number 2 in like injuries to football, because it's really intensive and dangerous. I mean, you're putting your life in someone else's hands, and you're, you know, trusting them, and the girls on the ground are trusting that the girls in the air are gonna do their job.
Right.
And so you really do, I mean, have to communicate. You have to all be on the same page. And it does take a lot of discipline. If one person is not there, like, the show doesn't go on, because, you know, we have stunt groups and different ways that the routine works. And, you know, unlike some other sports, like, you could continue to play or you could put somebody else in. But when somebody's not present at a cheer practice, like, the show can't go on.
Yeah.
And so it was so good for me as a teenager too, to just like learn that communication and teamwork, that level of teamwork.
Yeah, right.
Because it has continued to help me as I've gotten older, that, like, you know, you don't always agree with or get along with every single person that you work with, but you come together for a common goal. And that was like amplified on the cheerleading level, because, you know, it is so serious if something goes wrong.
Wow. So there's a lot of hard things about cheerleading. What was the hardest thing, at least in your mind, that you dealt with, you know, going through those 4 years? And what was one of the most difficult challenges thinking back on it?
You know, I think for me, I always was like wrestling with the fact, am I really like fully a cheerleader? Because I grew up a dancer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And so when I started cheerleading, I mean, I loved it, but it was a transition. And I always felt like I was kind of like needing to work so hard and to prove myself. And I'm somebody, especially being the oldest and trying to be an example to my younger siblings, I put a lot of pressure on myself, as a lot of us do, to, you know, measure up to the expectations that we have for ourselves. And I felt like probably the biggest challenge was just feeling the weight of always needing to improve, which is good, and you can be fueled to progress. But that also is a huge undertaking, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Well, we mentioned earlier you met your husband at UVU.
Yes.
And I think when you were done there, you guys moved to Hawaii.
We did.
And I know that, as fun as Hawaii sounds, you mentioned at times that it was really challenging for you.
Yes.
So do you mind sharing some of that with us?
Of course. Well, to back up a little bit,
Okay.
so I cheered for 4 years at UVU, and then my husband and I were planning on getting married in May of 2020, which our plans rapidly changed, like a lot of the world in 2020.
Right. Yeah, that kind of...
And that wasn't going to be the plan anymore. And so we ended up, in March of 2020, our basketball season got canceled. My cheer season got canceled.
Wow,
and we were just at this place of like, what do we do? Like,
Yeah.
our wedding is probably not going to happen the way we planned it. And bless my sweet husband's heart, he was so patient with me because he really was like, we need to move up our wedding date. And I was like, what? Like, no, I've spent months planning this.
Yeah,
and,
right. Yeah.
and I was still holding on to the fact like, no, this isn't real. Like, we're going to be able to have our wedding.
Yeah, they're not going to shut things down for very long.
Right. And if
Right.
I only knew. But
You're right.
we ended up deciding. So, I mean, in the heat of March of 2020, we ended up deciding on a Wednesday, March 18th, that we were going to get married on March 20th. Which was 2 days later.
Oh, man.
And so we ended up just calling our close friends and family
Really?
and decided to get married. And it was such a good decision. There was a lot of things happening in the world right then. But for us, it was such a cool opportunity to just focus on that day and on getting married, because we didn't even know if we were going to be able to get married. And so it was such a blessing to be able to get married during so much chaos. And I still will be so grateful. So our marriage kind of started off, I mean, beautifully, but also it was chaos.
Well, it'll be fun like 15 years from now or 30 years from now. You can look back and go, yeah, remember when we were getting married
Right?
and the world shut down and everything was in chaos and we didn't know what was going on. So it'll be a good story, right?
Well, and we always said, we're like, our kids, like telling our kids someday.
Yeah.
And I keep having this thought. I'm like, what if our kids don't even care?
They'll be like,
I'm
what are you
like,
talking about?
Yeah, like, oh, you're so old. Like, that happened so long ago or something, But, so during that time, we had both graduated from UVU, but my husband had another year left of eligibility to play basketball.
Oh, okay.
And so we decided to explore our options and where to go. And my husband wanted to pursue a master's degree in finance. And so we were looking into different master's programs. And it was so funny because I was really open-minded to where we might go. But I would have never imagined that we would have chosen island in the middle of the ocean.
Right, yeah.
And it's so funny because everybody was so excited for us and just thought I would be ecstatic. And I actually was kind of thrown off guard. That was not really my plan. I, being a cheerleader and also, starting from a young age when I was involved in pageants, something that I decided that I really wanted to do is I wanted to work in TV. I was interviewed on ABC4 and I just fell in love at 16. I said, this is what I want to do. And it's so funny because, as I went through, college and different things, I just stuck to that one plan.
Yeah.
And so when I got married, it's not just my life anymore, it's our life. And, we prayed about it and we thought a lot about this decision and it really did feel right. Like I knew that we were going to struggle. I knew that it was going to be a challenge. And honestly, I had no idea what I was going to do in Hawaii. Like I kind of just was taking a leap of faith for myself. I mean, my husband had he ended up committing to play basketball at the University of Hawaii, and he was also going to be busy with his academics.
Well, yeah, so he's going to be busy, really busy.
And I'm like, what in the heck am I going to do?
Right.
And I had just graduated with my degree in communication studies. I was supposed to have an internship that summer with Good Things Utah that ended up getting canceled because of the pandemic.
Yeah, wow.
And so I kind of was just at this place of like seriously having faith. And just taking one step further. And oh my goodness, when we got to Hawaii, just kind of the state of what Hawaii looked like at the time. We arrived and had to complete a 14-day quarantine, strictly in our little tiny home, probably the same size of your office.
Really? Like, well, what are we going to do here for 14 days?
Well, and my husband had to go to basketball practice.
Oh,
but
that's right. Yeah.
I just had to sit there, So it was a challenge, but it was so funny because it's just kind of who I am to wake up and say, I'm going to control what I can control.
Yeah.
I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to do what I can to make it through this, And so it was so funny because I would do that, and it was like there were so many things out of my control. So many things. And it was really starting to discourage me for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
I was really, really struggling. I was trying to find a job out here on this island, and I didn't know anyone, and everything was shut down. We ended up, we had to complete our 14-day quarantine, and then the state released a stay in place order. So we weren't able to leave for another 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
So here I am trying to find a job. I just got a degree, and I wanted to pursue things of my own. And now I'm looking into healthcare jobs because that's the only thing that's open at the time.
Right.
And, and just to explain kind of where I was at mentally too, I am now detached from all these things that I was used to, and all these, parts of my identity that I had identified with growing up. I was always super involved, and then I became a cheerleader, which was a part of my identity. I was involved in pageants, which was a part of my identity. I was a student at UVU, which was a huge part of my identity. And, I had my family and my friends and my support group. Yeah. And once I moved out here to Hawaii, I was all alone. And I found myself just really struggling with who am I?
Yeah.
And I was even I was having thinking about my childhood and having anxiety dreams about my childhood and all these random things. And my husband's busy, and he's got his things still, and I am just seriously at this place of what do I do?
Yeah.
And so from there, it was kind of I was very uncomfortable. I mean, I look back and I'm the biggest part of that was I was just being stretched,
right?
Which in the moment I was losing my mind, but now I have the perspective to see that I was growing too through that. And one thing that I learned, is that we are both human beings and human doings. So there are things that we are just innately, and then there are things that we do, because I was in this place where I wasn't doing these things that I, attached to my identity.
Yeah, right.
And I really did learn this through kind of struggling through it, you know?
Right.
And I know that, many people listening, whether it be moving to a new place like I did, or graduating college, or, just moving into new phases of life, we all may find ourselves feeling this way. Maybe you become a parent, or, maybe you start a new job, or a part of you that's really big ends, and now you've got to discover who you are again. And I think we go through this, multiple times in our life, of where we ask ourselves, who am I?
Right.
You know?
What a question, right?
Right. I know, it is a big question.
It's a big one.
And it did lead to a lot of self-discovery. And, I look back and I'm just what a better place than Hawaii to do this, because I was living in such a beautiful place. Yeah. Although, people called it paradise. For me, I kind of felt like it was a prison, because I was in my tiny little home, and I was struggling so bad. And
I bet.
I had to, it was hard because I was struggling, but people didn't see that,
Yeah.
It's kind of these, and I wanted to be open and transparent with, friends and family members, but I didn't really know how to talk about it at the time.
Yeah.
And so I really just had to kind of learn by stepping through it and walking through it and going through it. Wow. And some of these things, I mean, I'm out here in Hawaii and no one knows me.
Yeah, right.
So at this point, I'm what do I have to lose other than to learn who I am now?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm a new person now, I left kind of all these things behind, and now I'm married, and some of those parts of my identity are kind of not present anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And some of the things that I noticed is I started to realize that I was like being so negative to myself. Like I was talking so mean, and I would notice the way that I was thinking, and it was extra apparent in a place like Hawaii where they live such a laid back lifestyle. I really do admire them.
Sure.
That they, you know, really are so content and happy.
Yeah.
And that was so good, and it opposed the way that I grew up so much, you know,
right,
of pushing to be my best and being aspirational and all these things. And so I, you know, started to try to just think like, what if I am good enough, you know? What if I already am?
Love that.
What if I already am okay? And then it was so hard to retrain the way that I had been thinking. And I think that was so sad for me to realize, you know, the way that I was talking to myself. I mean, even just in conversations with people, and I'm introducing myself, I would think in my head like, oh, that was dumb, or, oh, I'm not a cheerleader anymore. Like, why am I talking about that? You know?
Right. Yeah.
And all these things. And I seriously, it was such a like intentional leap of faith. Like it was like, I am good enough. Like, even though you don't really believe it, you know?
Yeah, right.
And it was like, no, like I didn't say something dumb. Like I'm okay. Like it doesn't matter. I'm just me, you know? And being involved in pageants and in different things, I'm so grateful for it. But I think I also was, it kind of did perpetuate a little bit like me feeling like I needed to be a good example, and I needed to be well-spoken, and I needed to be all these things, where I finally started to realize that who I was enough, which is like so hard. Yeah. You know? Yep. It's easy to say.
It's easy to say it, but it's hard to really believe it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it took faking it for a while and just telling myself like, oh, if you said something stupid, or if you didn't measure up in a way you thought, to just say, it's okay. Like, it's okay.
I love that.
It's okay.
You know, it's one of the biggest messages I share with my clients. And if you wouldn't mind, do you mind reading that out loud up there?
Of course. It says, the most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there is nothing wrong with you. Amen.
And that's really what you eventually got to, like, hey, even though I'm not doing any of these things that I'm a doer, all these things I was doing, you were still ultimately okay. Yeah. And you were good, and you were worthy, and you were all those other things that, you know, you tell yourself that you are, but when it finally clicks, it's like it's a surprise. Like,
well, and it really is so sad to me that so many of us walk around every day feeling like we're not good enough and like beating ourselves up. It's just, it really is so sad when you think about it.
Yeah.
And so to listeners who may be struggling with this, like, just try to have that, like, fake it for a little bit and say, like, it's okay. Like, I am good enough. Or it's okay if I'm not perfect.
I love what you said. I'm like, what if I am okay?
I know. What if I really am? Right?
I love that.
And so, you know, this started for me, and it was really amazing what happened after that. Is I really started to enjoy Hawaii, and I really started to enjoy who I am and where I was in life. Like, even though I didn't know what the future held, you know, especially for me in my career goals, I was like, is what I'm doing out here even getting me anywhere close to where I want to be? Yeah. And it really was just doing the best that I could given the circumstances that I was in, you know, and it took patience. And also Hawaii was a temporary phase in our life. I knew that. And so I really tried not to wish the time away of like, you know, I just want to be back in Utah, or I just want to be out of this situation, because I knew that was going to be such a special time that we'd look back on our first year of marriage. And so it was really like learning how, I said it so many times in Hawaii, even though I was so frustrated sometimes, like finding joy in the journey, like even though maybe every moment wasn't joyous, like I still, especially now, there was so much joy, and now it brings me so much joy that I grew through it, and I continue to try my very best to take steps forward, you know. And it was really cool because I finally, and then with my career goals, I had my mindset on one thing. I wanted to work on TV. Yes. And there were so many things in Hawaii that were so far from working on TV that I did. And it was so funny. This is actually a character building experience for me, but, you know, I was trying to focus on what I could control. Yeah. And there was a time where there weren't really any jobs happening. And I had a friend who owned a cleaning business. And so, you know, I was like, I like to clean, like I'll help her.
Sure, yeah.
And my husband was like, Sav, you don't have to clean. Like we're okay and you'll find a job. And I was like, you know, I want to get out of the house. This is where I was at. And it's so funny to
I'll
look
do
back
anything
on
to get
this.
out of here.
Yes.
Right now.
I'm going to go clean. And, you know, living in Hawaii is very humble living. And so going into these different apartments and homes, like I'm finding myself in there, you know, trying to be positive and cleaning with this lady. And I'm telling her, you know, I want to work on TV.
Yeah, right.
And I think in that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, like I am nowhere near working on TV, you know?
Here I am cleaning. Where am I?
Yeah, it felt like this far off dream.
Yeah.
And it just was so cool because as I continued to take steps forward and tried to be the very best person that I could be, I know that God was orchestrating something for me. Yeah. And I always have held on to that, you know, that, you know, I may not understand it, but I know that there is a plan that is being just created in all the little details. Yeah. And it was so cool because I ended up doing a couple jobs in Hawaii, and I ended up, of all places, meeting this wonderful woman at a spa in Hawaii, and she we got chatting and we ended up working together because I ended up working at this spa, and she worked at ABC4 for the last 9 years and had recently moved to Hawaii.
Really?
Yes. and to me, I mean, that was just so clear that, you know, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, was looking out for me. Yeah. And, you know, she ended up being such a support to me and really just cheerleading me through. Like every time she'd come into work and we're working at a spa together, she's telling me like, you got it, you're gonna work on TV someday, like you're the best, you know. And I mean, it seemed like this far off dream that I was thinking about, but you know, as our time in Hawaii started to kind of come to a close, a position opened up, and this friend of mine was like, you need to apply for this. And it was so just cool how everything happened. We didn't know if we were going to come back to Utah, if we were going to live in another state. You'll hear from my husband in a later episode, but he wasn't sure if he was going to pursue, you know, professional basketball or what job we were going to take. And so the timing was not a coincidence of any of it. Yeah. And every part of it just was amazing. But I also, through the experience, learned that, you know, first of all, never limit yourself to just one plan. Like, because I realized out in Hawaii that I could do so many more things than just that. And so now I feel like I have such a better mindset and just so much more confidence and self-worth in myself that, you know I'm powerful and that I can do really whatever I want. I mean, I was cleaning in Hawaii. I was working at a spa, you know, I was working in healthcare, like all these things. And so I'm like, you know, I can do a lot of things.
Well, it's amazing too, because I think one of the greatest message you've already shared with us is that identity piece. Yeah. And realizing you're okay. And it's interesting is it seems like when you finally came to that realization, like, I am good enough. Yeah. And then everything else started to kind of fall into place. You had more energy, more things started falling in your lap, you know, from God, from the universe, whatever you want to say. I just think that that's no accident, right? Yeah. You kind of figured out who you were, and then things started to kind of fall into place. Yeah.
Well, and back to my point about being, you know, we are human beings and we are human doings. Yeah. You know, we do things in life, and, you know, I've listed some of mine. We all do certain things, but from the very beginning, I mean, when we're a baby and even throughout as we grow up, we are also human beings who all already are enough and already are, their worth is already 100 out of 100. Right. You know, and so that's something that I have just continued to remember is no matter what I'm doing, I mean, because that will always change. I'm always a human being that is enough and who's loved. Wow. And, you know, in the eyes of God, like I am, you know, completely perfect in his eyes, no matter what I do. Yeah.
Well, you've touched on this already with what you've shared, but obviously faith is a big part of your life. Yeah. You're a woman of faith, and you're active in your religion, and you exercise those things. How did that play a big? I mean, obviously you've shared that, but that's really important to you, right? Like, yes. Through all this,
and it grounded me, you know. Okay. And I mean, my faith was put to the test multiple times, and especially in Hawaii. But it was so cool because that was just my only thing to really hold on to so tight.
Yeah.
And something that's so important to me is faith, because I feel like sometimes it can be, you can wonder if, you know, you're just taking steps into the dark and nothing's going to come of it.
Yeah.
But every single time I take those steps, I am shown that, you know, God is aware of me and through every single step of the process.
Yeah.
And so that has just been kind of my lifeline through every challenge, you know. And I'm so grateful to, you know, like feel of that happiness and that love that comes when, you know, you accept yourself for who God intended you to be.
Yeah. So you obviously end up leaving Hawaii, coming here to Utah again.
Yeah.
And you're working at Good Things Utah.
Yes.
Talk about just coming here and how did that feel? Like you're sitting here going, hey, I'm at the process of doing this, what I've always dreamed to be doing since you were 16.
Oh, it was so surreal. And but it was also, I felt like just a huge breath of fresh air, because had things worked out how I planned and had I gotten that internship or started working there sooner, I would, you know, be so hard on myself and want to measure up in every single way and like never be enough and just wound up so tight, you know. And now I just can breathe and I recognize that I'm doing everything that I can and that I'm awesome. You know what I mean?
I know.
But you know, you take a deep breath and you're just like, you know, I'm okay.
It's okay to say that. I love that you said that.
Yeah. I mean, and you have to kind of be funny sometimes about it, but it's like, I feel so like I'm in such a better place mentally having this position. And I give myself the grace to understand that, you know, I'm going to give it everything that I have, but it's not my one calling in life. I mean, I can do so many different things and I always want to have my mind open to, you know, the different paths that God will take you on and the different ways that you can go in your life. Yeah.
So what's the ultimate goal that you want? I mean, obviously you want to be on TV, but is there other things? I mean, now that you're kind of here at Good Things Utah, and what do you see that growing into like in your mind?
Oh my goodness. You know, and here's another thing. I'm pretty young.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I am finally giving myself the grace of like, I am figuring it out. I do have goals, and I feel my main goal is just to share good. Right. You know, and to put my energy and my effort into something good that I, you know, values that I stand behind, and to just be a force for good. And I still am learning. And I think we do learn throughout different phases of our life, like how we're going to do that. Yeah. And so currently I love doing that at Good Things Utah. I meet so many incredible people every single day, and I'm just uplifted by, you know, I believe in the good in people. It can be so easy to, you know, especially watching the news or hearing about what's going on in the world. But I work on a morning show, a lifestyle show where we talk about and it's called Good Things Utah. Right, so we talk about the good things happening, and I really just am inspired every day and reminded that there is so much good. Yeah. And so I currently am really content and happy with where I'm at, just making an impact for good at Good Things Utah. Yeah, I love that. You know, and for those listening, if you're kind of bummed out what's going on in the world, tune into Good Things Utah. It'll be good and uplifting. You're going to hear a lot of positive things that are going on, right? Yeah. Very cool stuff. Well, and another thing, I mean, we were in the heat of the pandemic when I was living in Hawaii. Yeah. And really the only connection that I had was my phone. And that was a whole, I mean, I could have a whole podcast about that. But, I mean, those were my friends. That was my social life. That was my recreation. Like, it was so sad. And I really had to learn, like, boundaries with consuming information. And, you know, you can control your day-to-day life. And I think we forget that when we are looking at the TV and hearing of all these things that are going on. You can control your day, right? And what your life looks like. And so, like, turn it off. And I just always, it was so crazy how my days would change when I would just, like, delete Instagram off of my phone. Yeah. You know, or like not watch or listen or tune into what was happening in the world, because my life was beautiful. Yeah, like the world is beautiful, and I would meet beautiful, amazing, kind people, and so there really is so much good. You just have to tune in. Yeah. Tune into it, you know. That's a good. No, I'm glad you said that. I think
I think, I saw you do some information to some kids about social media and having boundaries and things like that. And I think that's ultimately what you're saying there and how important that is and that kind of thing. I had a question. I wanted to ask you, what does a day look like for you? Like, do you have like a morning routine? I mean, what do you do to kind of build your confidence and keep it in track? What do you do with your faith? And do you mind sharing like what a day looks like for you?
Yes. And this is kind of funny, but another big part of me, and anyone who knows me knows this, I love to dress up. I love to dress up. I love to wear lipstick. I love to do fun colors on my eyeshadow, and that is something that is silly, but I have finally just embraced as something that I really do love. And that every single day I wake up and it's something that like makes life fun, for me. And, while I'm getting ready in the morning, I listen to something uplifting, an uplifting message, or words of scripture or something that kind of set my day. And that's just, I call it my Zen, in the morning when I am just like doing something for myself, physically and spiritually, mentally, like just preparing for my day. And it's something that I feel strongly about. I know not everyone loves those things as much as I do, but, do something for yourself that, that's something that like really brings you joy. Like, and own it too, because for so long I was like, oh, that's so silly or whatever. And even this was another thing I had to experience and come to in Hawaii is, I mean, it's such a low maintenance lifestyle and most people don't even wear makeup or, dress up. It was so funny when we first moved there, we went to go buy a moped and my husband and I were wearing normal clothes. Like we were just wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and we went to this moped shop and the guy was like, oh, you guys look so nice. Where are you going?
You're like, what?
We were like, this is like our day to day,
Yeah.
And it was just funny. Like, it was so funny. But, and so there wasn't really that need there in Hawaii to do that, to do any of it, to curl my hair or to wear something cute or put any ounce of makeup on. But it was something that made me happy. And I really did come full circle, like back to myself of like, that's what I love, And so I think just like, what I would say to viewers too is like, find something that truly does bring you joy and like incorporate it into your everyday life. Yeah. And you will feel, the love for yourself because you're making time for yourself. And you'll also feel like the love of God because he wants you to be happy and provides these things for us. Yeah.
What a great message. Well, it kind of ties into my next question is if there's someone listening to you right now who's struggling, even if it's a girl who's thinking about doing cheerleading and she's not sure if she has the ability to do it, or someone who's lost their identity or they're not sure who they are. You've already given some great advice, but that one person listening to you right now who's struggling, what would you tell her or him?
I would say it is totally okay to struggle. Like, give yourself permission to struggle. And also, I don't know if this is the best thing to say to somebody in their moment of struggle, but you will be so grateful for the struggle. Like, I look back and those were the moments that refined me. Totally, yeah. And those are the moments that it gives me chills and almost brings me to tears that made me softer. And, now moving forward in my life, I feel that I was given those experiences so that I can understand others who feel alone or, are struggling and don't know who they are. And I think that's so beautiful to be able to sit with somebody when they don't know who they are and to be able to tell them that they are exactly enough and they are totally okay and so loved. Yeah. And so if I could say anything to anyone is that, you're not alone and that it's totally going to come full circle.
Wow. Beautiful message. Thank you for sharing that. That hit me. And what hit me too is like the struggle is what's made you like appreciate all these things. And I love how you said you'll end up being grateful for it. One of the things I'll tell my clients that life happens for you. You may not know it in the moment because you're going through it and it's hard and it, at times sucks. But you'll look back and go, man, I'm so glad I went through all of that. Cause I mean, that's what you're saying here, right?
Oh, I like the story. Now I am removed from the Hawaii struggle for me and I'm able to look at it as like a story. And that was what just filled my heart leaving Hawaii, flying away on the plane was like every single part of that was necessary. And it wouldn't be the beautiful story. I mean, the way that I see beauty is the ups and the downs and, what made it such a beautiful story was the deep struggle at the beginning and then the building and then the growing and then the becoming, right. And And so I am so grateful for every single part. It was every single thing that happened was necessary.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. So true. And what a great message. And, man, this has been so awesome to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Seriously,
Thank you for having me.
You're easy to talk to. This was like one of my easiest interviews, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're really well spoken and very confident. But what I love most is just your vulnerability and sharing your struggles with us today. And I love especially what you said about identity and that, you know what if we are okay? What if we are good enough?
Yeah.
What if?
Well,
right?
and one thing I wanted to share too, I don't know who of our viewers has seen the new Disney movie Encanto, but so many different parts of that movie just ring true to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure why, and I've thought about it for so long, and I love the music. But, you know, each of the family, Madrigal, like they each have a gift, except for one of them. But they each have these gifts that one is super strong. Have you seen the movie?
I haven't. Unfortunately, my granddaughter's seen it, and I know I need to see it. So
you should go see it.
I know.
But each of the kids have a different gift, and one of the girls is super strong, and actually one of the girls is perfect. Like she doesn't have flaws. She's beautiful, and she, you know, and then one is an extremely good listener and can hear everything, and one heals people with her baking. She bakes and heals people. And so they're all these amazing gifts, but they go through this struggle of each of them are like cracking under this pressure. Like they feel so much pressure to be perfect and to be their gift. Like that's all they are is their gift. And it's a beautiful story at the end, how there's a song, and I actually listened to it on my way here, and at the end it says, you know, the real gift is you know, is just who you are, all of you. And I think that's what I would kind of like to end on is, you know, the real gift is not what you do, but who you are.
Wow. Dang. Mic drop right there. Seriously.
If I could drop this mic.
Yeah, if we could drop it, we would.
Right.
Seriously, so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was beautiful. If someone who's listening to this right now wants to reach out to you and maybe just follow you and maybe ask you a question, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I am active on Instagram.
Okay.
I take breaks every once in a while, which is good for me.
Yeah, and we all should, by the way, right?
Totally. But I love when people reach out to me and open up, and I really appreciate their vulnerability and that they trust me with, you know, various topics. And so I am on Instagram at savvy_Jardine. And I'm not private, so anyone and everyone can reach out.
Well, I hope they will. And seriously, you're just an awesome person. And I'm just grateful that you were willing to take some time out of your busy schedule and be here today. And you said it earlier, your husband's going to be on in a few weeks, hopefully.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I watched some of his videos playing basketball, but then just, you know, he's kind of a goofball too, like dancing.
He is a goofball.
And I'm excited for that. I've loved that. And so it's going to be fun. But you guys just seem like a really happy couple. I really love the way you guys carry yourself and live your life. And you guys truly are great examples. I will say to those listening right now, if you're struggling, obviously this is going to uplift you, and here you are listening to the end of this, so it's been very helpful. But if you know someone in your family that might be struggling, or they need more confidence, or they want to learn more about their identity, share this with them. Share this episode, and then please reach out to you, Savvy, and ask you a question and connect with you.
Of course.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you, Todd.
You're awesome. Well, there you go, folks. I told you this was going to be another amazing episode, which it was. I feel edified. I feel love. I feel kindness. I still get a kick out of the kindness club.
Right.
Let's all join the kindness club, right?
Start one up.
Let's start one up. But yeah, no, I love you guys for tuning in week after week. It truly blows my mind where we're at. Keep sharing this. Keep showing the love, and just know how much I appreciate all of you. May God richly bless all of you. I love you. Until next time. Thanks.